What's up, YouTube? It is your favorite deranged leather crafter here to get you to ponder some ideas. This advice isn't just for leather crafters or people who are interested in leather crafting. This goes with really any craft, any task, any hobby, any interest, really. This is applicable all across the board. So the other day, I had a lady message me, and this stuck with me for way too long. I've been thinking about this interaction for like days now. She said that she's been like studying leather crafting, like following all these people, just trying to fully engulf herself in leather crafting so that when she starts, she's gonna be well equipped, which isn't necessarily bad. She then proceeded to ask me like, you know, what tools should I get when I start? Like, should I, not skimp out and get Barry King bevelers? And, she's like, I'm still waiting to get all the tools I need. I have a handful, but I need this, I need that, this, that, and the other. And it's like, it's so difficult. Like, when people want to do this craft as a hobby, like, they should just go and do it as a hobby. You know what I'm saying? Like, no amount of studying and preparation and like immersion is gonna tell you whether you even like the thing or not. It's not really gonna make you all that better. Like you only have to kind of know a little bit about leather crafting to start, and then you're off to the races. It's like there's a certain point when you study, like everything after is a complete waste of time. It's so frustrating. Like, the number one thing I hate about the leather crafting community is everybody is so quick to give advice and help each other out. And it's really strange because it seems like a really healthy community in terms of like other people helping each other learn and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, it's kind of toxic. Like, it's so pretentious at times. Like, when a leather crafter sits there and tells you like, oh, you need to get Barry King bevelers if you want to take your tooling to the next level. And it's like, sure, professional equipment and professional tools will help to some degree. They're only gonna do so much. It's like, imagine if you wanted to get into drawing or painting. You have access to a pencil, relatively easy. We all have pencils, right? The same way with leather crafting. You can buy a starter kit for like 50 bucks. And let's say you want to splurge and get the deluxe starter kit that costs like $100 you can get on Amazon or from Tandy. Pencil and paper, if you want to just start doodling, just start doodling. If you have a wild hair up your ass to go, hey, I think I want to start trying to draw. And then instead of just picking up the pencil and starting to draw, you sat there and read 4 books. You sat there and watched 15 YouTube videos, you subscribe to all these people, you spend months studying and like looking at other artists' work and all this stuff. You're 2-3 months into the studying of drawing, and you still haven't just picked up the pencil to decide whether you even want to do it or not. And I know the metaphors aren't necessarily the same, but they're pretty close. If you figure, have a pencil at your house, so let's call it, if by freak chance you don't have a pencil or a pen in your house, you have to go to the store and buy one. You can buy a pencil for $1, which you can get them for cheaper. Do you, as a beginner, purchase the $1 pencil and just start drawing? Or do you sit there and get like literally the most god tier pencil possible that like every professional uses that's $50? Like, why spend 50 times as much? Like, even hypothetically, if you were a trillionaire, wouldn't you just pick up the thing? Like, wouldn't you just pick up a writing utensil and just start drawing instead of going like, I'm gonna draw, and then special order some $50 to $100 pencil before you even sit there and give it a try? Like, even if money wasn't an option, it just doesn't make sense. So if that example doesn't do it for you, I like to also use this example. I'm not a sports guy, but imagine you always watch a basketball. You always wanted to be a basketball player. You wanted to shoot hoops. Maybe you didn't want to be professional, but you wanted to take up basketball as a hobby. Wouldn't you just buy a basketball at, the sporting goods store and like go down to your local park and start playing basketball? Like, maybe call a friend and go, hey, you want to play a basketball game? Or do you sit there and watch hours and hours and hours of game footage and watch a video of a guy showing you the perfect form to shoot the basket and the different moves you can do and all this, that, and the other, it's like, it doesn't make sense. And like, even if that's the case, let's say you spend 1,000 hours studying and everything, you got the $1,000 pair of performance basketball shoes and the sweat wicking, athletic gear and the sweatband and a sick water bottle and all this stuff. And then you get on the court and then you realize that you don't have the cardio to run after the basketball. You realize you don't have the coordination to make one basket after you shoot it 10 separate times. You go out in the court with people and you don't realize that in basketball you kind of bump into each other. And then you realize that you hate playing basketball. You just like watching it. So it's the same thing with like leather crafting or any hobby that you have. Like this notion that you need to sit and study and all this shit before you even start. Like, don't get me wrong, it is a good idea to maybe watch a video or two to go get a good idea, because a lot of people don't realize this leather crafting stuff takes a long time. Like, if I'm working as fast as I possibly can, I can usually only tool like 2 belts. Like, by the time it takes me to strip out 2 belts, get them to size, draw in with my pencil everything, carve it all, tool it all. If I'm lucky, I might be able to get 2 belts from roll of cowhide to where it's fully tooled and I paint like, whatever needs to be painted on it in one day. And that's me being a professional with literally 6 years of experience and speed behind this. Like, when I very first started out, it used to take me like 2 whole days to make a belt that turned out terrible. Like, it used to literally take me 10 hours to make one belt that was garbage. And it's like, I feel like the more people hype it up or hype up the idea of starting a new hobby or whatever, the more you're going to get let down when you actually go to start it, because you build up all these expectations. You're like, I have all this knowledge. I'm going to just start and knock it out of the park. But what you don't realize, the people who you're looking up to, for example, leather crafters, you see, Don Gonzalez, you see D2 Leather, you see Joe Melling, you see Elk Track Studios, you see D Loftus with the Dusty Hide, you see Western Skies, you see Magpie West, you see 76 and 0, like, you see all these professionals, they make it look so easy because it's what they do every single day. People don't realize by the time I'm done with one work week, I've put in between 45 and 60 hours working on leather crafting. Most people who want to get into it as a hobby takes them 3 or 4 months to even get 45 hours of experience under their belt. Imagine picking up a hobby and working on and messing with your hobby 1 hour a day, 5 days a week. That's less than 30 hours of experience you could put under your belt in 1 month. And that's, not including weekends. It's more like 24, 25 hours if you work every single day, Monday through Friday, on your hobby for 1 hour. It literally takes 2 months with rigorous hobby hours, because most people don't mess around with their hobby 1 hour every single day. Most people will spend 2-3 hours tops on a Saturday afternoon if they get lucky. And then on top of it, you're like falling so far from where you set your expectations for yourself. I'm not saying no one can ever be as good as any of those people I listed. No one can ever be as good as Don Gonzalez or D Loftus. It's not true. But it's taken those people 10, 15, 20 years to get to where they're at. And that's of every single day. Their water bill depending on it, their electricity bill depending on it, their children depending on it, their spouses depending on it, and the amount of drive and dedication. So it's difficult because people who want to just like leather craft for fun, like, it's so easy to get started, but you can't expect to be as good as a professional. Like Don Gonzalez is the fucking Michael Jordan of leather crafting. Like if you want to go pick up this hypothetical basketball hobby that we're talking about, you're never going to be like Michael Jordan, ever, period. Doesn't matter. There's only one person. You know, there's like Michael Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron. You know what I mean? There's like 3 people in the history of basketball who are undeniably, you know, top 3 of all time. And I'm not even a basketball fan at all. I literally don't even watch basketball, and I know those 3 things. That's what you're talking about when you talk about Al Stolman, the dude who wrote every fucking leather book ever, Don Gonzalez, and Don King, the guy who invented Sheridan tooling, basically. Or you could just be like a normal person and, you know, just go shoot some hoops at the park with your kid or your friend. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. Not that it doesn't make sense to strive to be like them, but when you sit there and you prep and you learn and you watch and you all this stuff without even stepping your foot on the court, it doesn't make any sense. You're gonna set yourself up for failure. The more you prepare and the more you hype yourself up before you even step on the court, the bigger your fall is. Because I can guarantee you, no matter how much you study beforehand, let's say you study 100 hours and another person studies for 2 hours. They watch some videos on YouTube and maybe they read a book, right? Versus you, who spent 100 hours on all this shit. You spent 100 hours while this person spent 2. You might be 10% better than them, because ultimately most hobbies don't even come down in the early stages to how much you know about it. It's like hand-eye coordination shit. Like you might not realize that you have to sit there and tap a hammer, and maybe when you first pick up a hammer, you're not even hitting the thing right, you know? And then imagine after 30 seconds, your wrist gets tired when you're sitting there going like, oh, I've watched all these videos and these people, they just tool, you know, they tool and they craft this giant piece. And you're like, because it's like, yeah, you don't realize it's taken me 6 years to be able to do this. Before I gotta take a break. And when you start out, you'll only be able to do it for 3 seconds. So moral of the story is like, if you wanna jump into any hobby, any craft, you know, leather crafting, sport, hiking, fishing, all this stuff, just start and do it and have fun. If you want to get into fishing, you don't need a $10,000 deep sea fucking 150-pound tuna catching fucking fishing pole. Just go down to Walmart and buy the $20 one and see if you even like sitting out there on the water for 4-hour stretches with the possibility of not catching a fish. You know, you don't need the 4x4 Subaru and the gas tanks and the $10,000 sleeping bag like you're gonna go climb Mount Everest if you want to go walk some trails. Like, it doesn't make sense. The more you prepare yourself and the higher you set your bar and what you expect when you're just starting out, the more you're going to be disappointed. There's nothing in the history of time ever that somebody has just picked up and been fucking pro at. You might be, you know, better than the average person when you start, but no level of studying is going to really set you apart from somebody who actually just loves doing it. Like the person who literally just was like, I asked a friend for some spare leather tools, and I make wallets with this shitty X-Acto blade and my 3 stamps, and I love doing this. That person will outperform, out-succeed, and just whip ass over anybody who has to sit there and think that the tools make the person or the tools make the result. Your passion, your want, your need, your drive, and your appreciation for what it is you're doing are ultimately the most successful thing, especially if you're going into it as a hobby. Wouldn't you want your hobby to be something that's fun, that you enjoy your time doing, that you can just pick up and do whenever you want? Anyways, if you want to start, go to Tandy with a $100 bill and you'll get more than enough to start your leather crafting journey. You need a little piece of scrap a cheap swivel knife and a beveler, a backgrounder, maybe a couple other stamps, but anything beyond that, when you're taking your first step into leather crafting, you're setting yourself up for big disappointment.